all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything like you want it.
Well, good afternoon, race fans. We come at you live here from Portland in the great Pacific Northwest for the Sylvania Cup Series, race number 14 on the schedule. And it'll be 116 laps here today at Portland. And an interesting front row as you've got Al Bunch with yet another pole. But alongside of him, Brian DeBlanc, it seems, has figured out something with the Audi, sitting right on the outside front row. Then you've got the LFG teammates right there behind him. Ewan What Army and Chaz Chadwick right there, third and fourth. Ant Meeperson and Tristan Reams. We all know Tom Cording gets to make his first official Cup start here in the number 90. Then you've got Tyler Aspinall and hot rookie talent Nate Newman starting about mid-pack here with Dalton Scott, Lynn Farrell, the return of Tim Cording, as well as the newcomer here to the series, Braden Varga, Tyler Landa, Andre Stefan, Taden Berggren and Kara Shangle, Trevor Walker and Guido Piano, Jack Ross and Daniel Paulus Jr., John Brinker and John Roman, so a pair of Johns. Then you got Jordan and Justin, Bella and Chris, Nelson and Matthew, Alan and Chris, Liz and Lewis, Cam and James, with Monty and James Robert at the very back of the field. So we're getting ready to start this race up here.
Start your engines!
All right, boys, coming at you. Make it a go, man. Let's have some.
If you're fairly new to the series, one thing you need to know for certain is Al Bunch has been on a tear this year. That 81 is your 2023 Busch Light champion, what is our Bridge to Cup Series now. Al Bunch won the feeder class to this Cup Series to earn his full-time seat. Didn't get Rookie of the Year status last year. That went to our 2024 champion, Atlee Weiss. Correction, 2023 champion Atlee Weiss, as he was Rookie of the Year and Series champion. Green flag waving, we're underway here in Portland, and this first turn always tends to be the most chaotic. As you see Ant Meeperson going 3 wide with the LFG teammates there. Off to the early lead, it's Brian DeBlanc. We knew all too well his prowess when it comes to road course racing, and it seems like he's got a good start here today. These heavy stock cars tend to have kind of a struggle getting around this track. As you can see, they're kind of lugging around the turns. Then you have this one long, speedy back stretch here where they get up to a ton of speed. It's kind of different. They're taking it very nice and gingerly throughout the turns here. First time in the series, Lucas Holmes in the Cup. Number 26 Audi for Audi Experimental Initiative. Audi team doubled in size on the return of the Courting brothers and split into two teams now, as Courting Brothers Motorsports comes back and Audi Experimental Initiative continues to hold its place in the series. We saw faster lap times out of the trucks just a couple days ago. It's interesting that these Cup cars tend to struggle, it looks like, making it through just being that much heavier, I imagine. Yeah, speeds are noticeably way down as they are what was a 95 mile an hour lap. These guys are averaging 76 miles an hour in the Cup cars, so everyone's gets to deal with the same advantages and disadvantages here. There we go, Al Bunch with a little bit of a move there. Didn't get to carry that momentum, unfortunately. Brian DeBlanc finding an extra gear. He turned a 129.875. Al Bunch with a 130.03. As is customary with our Sylvania Cup Series, there's no cautions unless the track gets a complete and total block. All 42 cars still out there running. At the very back of the field, you've got James Robert, James Reddick, and Matthew Fastnot. Lewis Trost, Alan Taylor, and Cam Jordan. You got Monty Shangle, Justin Daytu, Belafon, Liz Shangle, Jack Ross, Jordan Walker, and John Brinker. So now into your top 30 here. You've got Kara Shangle in 29th, Daniel Paulus Jr., Chris Harvey, John Roman, Andre Stefan, Guido Piano, Taden Berggren, Nelson Chacon, Trevor Walker, and currently running 20th, that of Braden Varga. In 19th, it's Tyler Landa. 18th on his return to this Cup circuit. 18th sits Tim Cording, Chris Hergeson, Dalton Scott in the inverted 50, now driving the number 05 car for Cording Brothers Motorsports. Lynn Farrell, Tyler Aspinall, Nate Newman, Tyler Shangle, Lucas Holmes, and in your top 10, it is Tom Cording currently sitting 10th, Jacob Shangle in 9th, Atlee Weiss in 8th, Ant Meeperson with a solid run here in 7th, Kellen Relic in 6th, Tristan Reams with an impressive top 5 early on in this one. The LFG teammates running 4th and 3rd. And Al Bunch still chasing down Brian DeBlank. It seems Al Bunch turned the fastest lap here recently. The lap times are getting a little bit more within line of what we would expect from a Cup race here. 80-mile-an-hour average speed. Our top 2 leaders still turning about 15 miles an hour slower than what the trucks were just a couple days ago. Thing is, you gotta imagine those trucks are a little bit more aerodynamic, not as heavy as one of these Cup cars are. These Cup cars very much more tuned for the circle track and extreme speeds that they can carry going in a circle. So this honestly will start to turn back into a strategy game. A lot like road course races tend to do. What is impressive here is that everyone is driving so carefully. We aren't having any mistakes like we've seen here at Portland in the last couple races. And so with the reserve driving so far, it gives everyone a chance to stay in the mix if they can get strategy to go their way. Top two cars with speed obviously are top two at the front of the field. These two consistently putting in laps in the 129 realm. If you go third place, Chadwick also turning 129. Ewan What Army, Tristan Reams, Kellen Relic, everyone's actually kind of stretching it out here. The first car not in the 129 bracket is Jacob Schengle with a 130.1. So once green flag pit stops start to factor in here, things could get a little bit mixed up. Al Bunch is right there in the mix. You can see he closes the gap and starts to catch up to the 85 little by little. As it always tends to be, these road courses are a little bit on the different side. You don't get to see a whole lot of passing. Sometimes you've just got to deal with the small realm of competition that you're dealing with. We got a lot of little packs here and there. This lead pack could change up. Third and fourth could catch up to the leaders as well, and would really get interesting if the LFG teammates start to duke it out for the win. Well, 11 laps into this one, and it's been Brian DeBlanc leading every lap so far. Seems that Audi has finally got the needed research and development to get those cars running better. One thing though, road courses have been Brian DeBlanc's forte throughout the Sigma racing universe. And a lot of his wins have come on road courses. Even last year in Cup, I believe his one and lonely win was a road course race. So if anyone were to figure it out, and especially with a road course under his tires, Brian DeBlanc just having a great day today and could potentially convert it over to something huge. He's still going to have to figure out a way to keep this 81 car at bay. Al Bunch has been a tough one to beat all year so long. I'm going to refrain from trying to guesstimate pit strategy, as the last couple races have been an indicator for me that it's just too unpredictable to go off of the books, and so many of the AI and NR2003 would like to go against the grain, it seems like. So with 116 laps here today, there's almost a guarantee that we'll see multiple pit stops to the finish. Not likely to see any cautions, as they are racing so gingerly around the track here today. Wrecks are going to be far and few between one to the other. So I think you're really looking at your battle. It's all going to come down to if these two at the front can continue to execute on pit stops, pit strategy, and if they do, they might either stretch the gap out. If they fail to do so, the LFG teammates might be able to catch up. Still have 99 laps to go here. It's probably gonna get broke up into about 3 different chunks with pit stops and whatnot. Al Bunch not letting Brian DeBlank get too far away here. Two of them still pretty much within the same draft of each other, running competitively similar times as well. So the battle truly is going to come down to pit strategy. Well, I think 18 laps into this one is now a good time as any to go through the field. As we know, our top 4. 5th place, Tristan Reams. This is a big turnaround for that team. The Mercedes has been struggling, and it's been a rough year for Tristan Reams after the year that he had last year, getting 7 wins in 2023. 2024 has been forgettable up to this point. Obviously, we're only 14 races into a 40 race schedule, so there's still a lot of racing, and maybe get some momentum on his side and start putting together some good finishes. Kellen Relic really has brought his best stuff this season with Jaguar, and Jaguar has been the unbeatable force in the 2024 campaign. Him and Al Bunch both have been winning races left and right, and Kellen been on a little bit of a soft streak here lately. Hasn't been running up nearly as close to the front as his teammate Al Bunch, who leads the points. Kellen Relic still in the top 5, but yeah, running 6th here today, so top 10 runs so far. Same thing can be said about BMW, as we were referencing to the Mercedes team. BMW has been on one hell of a struggle this year, and their bright spot obviously is Ant Me Person. There's a reason why he got promoted up to this cup seat and is the team owner for this cup ride. The resources haven't been all there to get this BMW running like the BMWs we've seen in the years past. It's already been mentioned, or it's been official, that BMW is not going to return to Cup competition next year in 2025 as part of the silly season. So Ant Me Person might be searching for a different manufacturer. We know Dodge is going to be a permanent status, as well as Jaguar going to be in a permanent status. So that's going to raise the question as to where Ant Me Person's going to go in 2025. Your defending champion, Atlee Weiss, has been on kind of a, pretty standard defense tour in 2024. He's got a couple wins to his name, sits in the top 5 in points, and continues to put together solid runs week in and week out. Is he in the caliber of winning a championship like he was last year? Maybe not. It's been a good start to the season, but he's missing that extra oomph to actually be a contender for the championship this year. A lot of bad luck, some blown engines, even a flat tire while leading at one of the races this year. I don't know what black cat crossed his trail, or if he stepped underneath a ladder, something. He might need to find a rabbit's paw to get some luck back in that 19 camp. Not bad though, running 8th here today at Portland. As you've got Jacob Shangle in 9th. He too has gotten a win on the season already. Had a win at a road course actually, where things went to hell in a handbasket at the end of the race, and got gifted a win at Riverside. Then you've got Tom Cording. He's got a bit of a vengeance here after getting removed from the series, fighting with a little bit more integrity here in the top 10. It'd be one hell of a way to come back into the series, getting a top 10 finish for that 90 team. This 90 car is going to see a revolving door of drivers to finish out the season. Obviously, Tom Cording, Dave Steele Jr., and Kyler Sestre are going to be the other two drivers that will hop into the seat. This is all due in part to keep Dave Steele Jr. in rookie-capable status for 2025. He's going to be your #1 contender for Rookie of the Year in 2025. With that said, I am going to have to look into scoring up rookie status for 2024, which I've fallen behind. I do have some free time after the race here today, and I think that's what I'm going to work on, so we can get an idea for the rookie battle in 2024. Lucas Holmes basically poo-pooed on the whole idea of running for Rookie of the Year, and he's just going to go out there and race as many races as he can to finish out this 2024 campaign. Meaning that he's technically eligible for Rookie of the Year this year, and it's going to be a tall order to race against the likes of Nate Newman, who sits so high up in the points in his rookie campaign, sits 13th in the race here today. He's going to keep that rookie battle pretty much in his court. I did skim past the 77 there of Tyler Shangle, your 2024 Coke 600 winner. Back in his winning ways, he's seen the likes of 35 victories here in the Sylvania Cup Series. The winningest driver in the series. Then you've got Tyler Aspinall, who's just been quiet, very calculated, and continues to put on a good season so far. Lynn Farrell, Dalton Scott, which we saw him in the 50. Now he's in the 05 to finish out this year. Tim Cording now gains a spot up to 17th. Chris Hergeson up to 18th. It's been a struggle this year. That 6 car is desperately looking to get into the top 30 in points to preserve a charter spot for next year. And very much capable of doing so. If he has a good stretch of runs here, he could be in the top 30 before he knows it. Braden Varga in just his first series race here in the Cup Series. Gonna see him in a couple different paint schemes featured on this number 9 Audi for Audi Experimental Initiative. Not bad at all. 19th, gained a spot from his initial starting around 20th. Seems that Tyler Landa is the one falling backwards here as he's fallen back to 20th. We saw kind of an early season push from him. He hadn't won any races, but had the points lead under his belt for a little while. Has since lost that points lead to Al Bunch. Al Bunch is kind of cruising away with it right now. Trevor Walker in the 22 for DSRM. Nelson Chacon, Taden Berggren, Guido Piano, Andre Stefan, John Roman, Chris Harvey, Daniel Paulus Jr., Kara Shangle, John Brinker, and the rest of the field as we skim through. Still seems like all cars are still out there, except for one. Well, the other one is still out there. They're one lap down now. The 5 of Jordan Walker. Right there, as you see Al Bunch now having to deal with the lap traffic of Jordan Walker here. I'm wondering if the 5 actually pitted, if that's why he got this far back. Yep. So your first round of potential pit stops came at lap 22 here, which that's nearly a 6-stop race if he follows through with that strategy. Clearly your leader's staying out longer, so there must have been something else that came up on that 5 car to pit as early as they did. It's going to be interesting to see here with fresher tires if he's going to have something competitive with the leaders here. He just turned a 129.7. Compare that up to Brian DeBlanc, who turned a 130.5. Fresh tires are going to be king here today. Jordan Walker really is closing the gap here on Brian DeBlank. If those two get side by side, that could make things interesting for Al Bunch to close the gap behind him as well. The ideal strategy would be to make it to lap 29, anywhere after 29, and you could make this on 3 stops. 30 would be ideal. 29 would be pushing it, because if you make 4 stops at 29 laps, you would be right at lap 116. So 29 really is pretty much the perfect scenario to end this race on 116 laps. I can only imagine they'll be able to push it a little further than that. We can even look at the garage, the in-game garage, and see what it recommends. They're saying 51 laps, so even then, if you make it 48 laps into the race, or 50 laps, you would make it to lap 100 with your last pit stop. If you go the 50 lap route, and then you'd have a 16 lap push to the finish. Or you could have someone that does it like right now and does one late race final caution, well, one last pit stop at the end and just take gas, no tires kind of thing. We could see some of those strategies play out too. So far, we're still waiting on the first round of green flag pit stops here at Portland. All 30 laps have been led by the 85 of Brian DeBlanc. Second place, Al Bunch there in the 81. And then third and fourth, Chadwick and What Army. Even further back now as they're starting to lose grip of the lead duo. They're about a second off the pace when compared up to the lead two. Yeah, they just turned a 131, so their wear off a little bit more intense than the leaders. Tristan Reams could potentially catch up to the LFG teammates here and contend for top 4 positions. But in the meantime, Jordan Walker right there, lap down. He pitted extra early, performing the super undercut here, pitting on lap 20. These guys are able to make it to lap 50. That means that he could potentially run this race on one less stop. Well, not necessarily. He would still make 2 pit stops. It's just his pit stop would fall differently than what the leaders' pit stops. He'll pit on lap 20, 70, and run to the finish, while the leaders will pit on lap 50 and lap 100 and run to the finish with 16 laps after their last pit stop. There we go. The lapped car trying to make a move there. Doesn't get the job done, though. I am still a little bit lost here as to why they drive so far off the pace here in the Sylvania Cup cars. I was looking at real life Xfinity. The Xfinity cars were turning laps around here at 96 miles an hour. And these guys are pretty much capped at about 80 miles an hour average lap times around here. Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, they're still capable of racing. It's just the passing is not going to be... There's not as much passing on track because there's not as much speed going down on the track. So, well, it's just a little bit different here today. The pace, however, has effectively made this race longer. I did not anticipate the cars to go this slow. If they're going about 10 miles an hour faster, that would cut off about 15 minutes from the race duration altogether. But luckily, cautions being disabled, we should be able to stay green for the entire race, hopefully. The only reason we would throw a caution is if something happened to the leaders or a big pileup started taking out a whole flock of cars that upsets the whole finish to the race. We'd want to throw a caution. So let's say a lapped car gets spun out in front of the leader and all the cars get slowed up behind them. that would be merits to throw a caution. So not very likely, because this track, very wide, very open. It would be hard to get such a track block that would force us to throw that caution. Top 5 has remained unchanged since the drop of the green flag here today. Looking even further back in the running order, 6th all the way through 10th is still unchanged. 11th, still Lucas Holmes. Top 15 remains unchanged. And even your top 20 still running exactly as they've been. So let's do a dig into the history from last year as to where Brian DeBlanc got his one win in 2023. One win, 5 top 10s, or 5 top 5s and 6 top 10s for Brian DeBlanc. His one win came at Sonoma last year. Sonoma, where he led 40 of the 150 laps contested. He's already going to match that total for laps led here today in Portland. So maybe there's something to it. Maybe the Pacific Northwest road courses are one of his fortes. What was impressive about Sonoma, though, he had qualified 26th and worked his way up to win it. He started second here today, and he's leading every lap so far. So a little bit different circumstances, that's most certain. And as for this year, he only has 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s to this point. Sits 12th in the points, and with a win here today, he could jump up another spot, it looks like. The points are pretty well spread out in the Sylvania Cup, as he's only 34 points before the 11th place driver, and then he's a full 100 points away from 10th place Kellen Relic. So a lot of dominance, a lot of drivers getting points, racking up those points like crazy. Even today with Al Bunch running in second, he would more than maintain his points lead. And he has a 47-point lead over Chaz Chadwick, who, of course, is running in third here today. So your top points getting drivers doing what they must to keep getting more and more points this year. Things are getting a little bit interesting here as lap traffic starts to spoil the party. DeBlanc finally gets by the 42 here. Well, not so quickly. Has to get back in line behind the 42 to get some draft here going down the long straight. He's going to try to overrun him on the brake zone here. And is not able to close the deal. Al Bunch better be careful here. He might fall into the grasps of Chaz Chadwick. And we know Chadwick definitely wants to beat Al to get as many points to try and reel him in for that overall points lead. So things get a little bit heated here for second place. Al Bunch decides to undercut here for the pit stop. He wasn't gaining any time on the leader, so might as well come in a little bit earlier, get some fresh tires, and get back out there with clean track in front of you. Gets back out there with clean track in front of him. He can make up some of that time that he lost in the lap traffic there. It's really going to come down to where he cycles out after the pit stop. If he gets caught up with traffic again, it's going to be a moot point. And now, since Al Bunch pitted, it's almost going to force the hand of the rest of the leaders to pit as well. DeBlanc only waits one lap longer to make his pit stop here. And the advantage that Al Bunch is going to get will be slightly diminished with the leader pitting the next lap. Good part is Al Bunch was able to rejoin the track with clear racing room. And here we go. DeBlanc rejoining the racing surface here. Right there behind Kellen Relic. We saw, yeah, there we go. Al Bunch not too far behind. He's already got the tires wore in a lap here. DeBlanc's going to take a lap to get up to speed. Things are going to kind of, I think, cycle out back to right about where things were. '18 of Chaz Chadwick stayed out. He took it as long as he could before making his pit stop. Atlee Weiss as well had stayed out quite a while here. But it should cycle back around to Brian DeBlanc as your leader. So he's not going to get credited with leading every lap here tonight, but definitely has led a bunch of them to start this race. Yeah, right now they're sitting 4th and 5th, but it'll cycle back out to this being our 1-2 battle yet again. Al Bunch looking a little bit faster now with the fresh tires under him. Wow, I step away from the computer for one moment, and the lead swaps hands between Al Bunch and Brian DeBlanc here. Wow, what a move. He just drove it in there deep, took the lead away from Brian DeBlanc, and charges down the backstretch here at Portland to secure overall first position. Kellen Relic out front leading. I thought... Did he pit? Wow, Kellen Relic pitted extra early. So he pitted on lap 43 when the rest of the takers were after lap 45, 47, and 48. So the undercut paid dividends here for Kellen Relic, as now it's a Jaguar 1-2 yet again. Just this time it's Kellen Relic instead of Al Bunch. Al Bunch not too far behind. So after the pit stops, let's try to see what all's changed. Obviously, we know the leaders changed, and Brian DeBlank gets back by Al Bunch. This race up at the front of the field getting a little bit exciting, so let's try to skim through the field as quickly as we can. What Army now finds himself in 4th after he got by Chaz Chadwick, his teammate. Tristan Reams still sitting in 6th, but now he's fighting for a top 5 position. Jacob Shangle up to 7th. Now in 8th is Ant Me Person. Atlee Weiss comes back to 9th. 10th, it's looking a lot the same once we get deeper into the field here. Tom Cording has been running 10th solidly here. 11th, Lucas Holmes. 12th, Tyler Aspinall. 13th, Nate Newman. 14th, Tyler Shangle. And big kudos for Tim Cording as he's gained 2 more spots on the pit strategy. He was 17th, now he's up to 15th. Lynn Farrell sits in 16th. Dalton Scott in 17th, as everyone's starting to turn their fastest lap this time around. Braden Varga turned a 129.2. That was his best lap last time by. Sits in 18th in his series debut. Trevor Walker in 19th. Jordan Walker in 20th. We saw him perform the super undercut, and it seems to have paid off to give him a couple bonus spots on track. But his pace is going to be greatly hampered here since his tires are a lot older than everyone around him. Tyler Landa, Chris Hergeson, Andre Stefan, Guido Piano, Jack Ross, Tayden Berggren, Nelson Chacon, John Roman, Chris Harvey, John Brinker, Daniel Paulus Jr., Bella Fawn, Kerry Shangle, James Reddick, Liz Shangle, Cam Jordan, Monty Shangle, Justin Day2, Alan Taylor, Lewis Trost, and back to your leader, Kellen Relic. The fact that Kellen's having to deal with lap traffic here is definitely going to make it hard to maintain this lead. We're not quite halfway through the race, and with the first round of green flag pit stops, not sure how the second round is going to pan out. But ultimately, everyone's going to be racing to the window of laps 90 to 100. And that's where your next round of pit stops will start and most likely end by lap 100. I'm thinking the drivers that can even push it as late as lap 100 could maybe even do a gas and go. You might have some drivers that pit on lap 90 and get 4 tires, but expect the other drivers to do gas and goes, where you'll see huge discrepancies in speed due to the strategies that unfold here today. So don't tune out. It's been kind of a slow rolling race so far, but the action is starting to pick up here. We went from Brian DeBlank leading all of the first 46 laps until he had to pit, to now Kellen Relic leading the way right now. Kellen Relic was running 6th before pit stop, so he was able to catapult himself up 5 spots total to earn this lead on pit strategy. Well, Al Bunch was able to make the pass again on Brian DeBlank. These two keep switching their positions. If Al Bunch can get by this 09 car, he'll have his sights clear, focused on the 87 out there at the lead. But getting by this 09 is not going to be no easy task, as we've seen here today. Even lap traffic, hard to get by. We got to give Al Bunch credit. He's finding spots on track to pass where I don't think you would typically pass someone here at Portland. If you watch, I think he's going to find a way to pass the 09 going through this technical segment here. Not going to get it done this time, but we've seen him make a pass through that segment on the 85 of DeBlank. Oh, yes, that's a good move on Al Bunch there. If Kellen Relic was able to hopscotch 5 spots on pit strategy, I would not count out the likes of Chaz Chadwick, who sits in 5th right now, Tristan Reams, or even you got Jacob Shangle, Ant Meeperson, and Atlee Weiss. They've actually started to close the gap up towards the leaders here. The leaders truly struggling with lap traffic. We might have 5 cars, maybe even 7 cars, all within 5 seconds of each other. Of course, they're going to have to navigate through lap traffic just as well, or if not better, than what the leaders are doing. But strategy calls. They could win the race from 6th on back even. Kellen Relic not really setting a speedy pace as the leader. And you got to imagine that has a little bit to do with the fact that he did undercut the field, that he's on older tires now, and those tires starting to show their wear, while the drivers behind him have fresher tires and are still turning fast laps. Still a very bold move, and I'm excited to see just how many more bold moves the rest of the field has under their sleeves. We are now officially halfway through the race. 58 down, 58 to go. Rather, 59, then 57 to go. So we're going to go ahead and do a good old-fashioned Sigma-verse crank it up. Well, Al Bunch still struggling to get by the 09 of Fastnot here. But Kellen Relic's still not too far away. If he's able to mind his P's and Q's, he can get by this 09 car and fight Kellen Relic for the lead. Here might be a good opportunity if Matthew Fastnot can rattle the cage at Kellen Relic. That could give Al Bunch a shot here. Fastnot still, he's simply just trying to stay on the lead lap here. Still running 41st. We got 40 cars on the lead lap as your leaders having a hard time getting through this lap traffic. It's helping let the rest of the field close back up. As you see Chaz Chadwick in 5th. Jacob Shangle in 6th, not too far off the path. Tristan Reams, Ant Meeperson, Atlee Weiss, and Tom Cording with Lucas Holmes, Nate Newman, Tyler Aspinall, Tyler Shangle, and Tim Cording. Yep, you have Chadwick now within 4 seconds. And the 64 car with clean track in front of him, he could start closing that gap and be within 5 seconds before you know it. Just like that, Brian DeBlanc under attack here by Ewan What Army and Chaz Chadwick. What Army goes low. He's going to try to execute a pass. He's going to make a pass. Oh, and now he's going to lose some ground here as he overdrove it through the turn. But I think we're going to see What Army now in 3rd. Kellen Relic gets by the 29 of Trost. Al Bunch gets by the 09 finally of Matthew Fastnot. Things starting to come together for our lead drivers. They saw the one car in their back view mirror and they're like, we need to get the hell out of here. We need to start working our way through the traffic. They don't want to deal with you and What Army. Oh, the 09 of Fastnot moves out of the way to let What Army by. You got to start thinking that Al Bunch is like, where the heck was that when I needed it? Yeah, it looks like Fastnot might be giving 85 a hard time here now. Here we go. Al Bunch gets by Lewis Trost here and now gets a little bit of clean track in front of him. Last time Al Bunch was nearly in a win for a road course, he ended up getting taken out by a driver leaving pit road, and it cost him the whole race. And that's when Jacob Shangle came through and won at Riverside. Al Bunch had led all but two or three laps at Riverside earlier this season, and someone coming off pit road for their scheduled pit stop just sideswiped the 81 and destroyed the car, instantly putting an end to the day for the 81 and giving the 64 an opportunity on a restart to win that race. Al Bunch flirting with taking the lead here. Here we go. Al Bunch making a late move there through the turn. Was not able to close the deal, but blood is in the water. He's got a good trace on the 87. It's going to be close. 87's going to have to hit that curb and go slow through the turn. Now's where they both kick it into overdrive. Yeah, Kellen's going to edge out the 81. Lap traffic really is becoming the biggest factor here now. Kind of the great equalizer. It's allowing some of these other drivers to catch up to the lead without a forced field caution. Everyone's still racing for everything. I mean, Al Bunch, all he's got to do is get the right momentum here, and it looks like he is on the outside of Kellen Relic. Oh, and he clips the curb there. Makes a little bit of a mistake. Side by side going down the long backstretch, and he has the lead. Kellen Relic falls back to second, not seventh. That would be a very, very bummer deal if you fall from the lead to seventh in the matter of a couple seconds. Well, Al Bunch has been lamenting the fact that lap traffic has hampered his progress here today so far, but he's also got to give lap traffic credit for giving the lead to him here. So, kind of a catch-20. Al Bunch already has 5 wins on the young season here. So if he were to win a 6th race in just 14 races, that's nearly half the season, about a 20% ratio of winning. The rest of the field does not like seeing that 81 car out front because it only means trouble. Wow, Jacob Shangle gets by Chaz Chadwick and is now sitting in the top 5. Brian DeBlanc falls back, settles into 4th there. Well, it looks like Al's under a little bit of duress here. Kellen Relic's going to have a full head of steam going into turn 1. Lewis Trost as well drives it in deep. Trost drives it in really deep there. Kellen Relic gets a little bit out of sorts. Ewan Wood Army right there on the back bumper of the 87. And now it's hard to tell where the lead traffic begins and the lap traffic begins, as you've got quite a snake of cars throughout the field here. 3rd place, Ewan Wood Army. 4th place, Brian DeBlanc. Then you got 41st place, Matthew Fastnot. And 5th place, Jacob Shangle. 6th place, Chaz Chadwick. 7th place, Tristan Reams. 8th place, Ant Meeperson. 9th place, Tom Cording. 10th place, Atlee Weiss. And 42nd place, James Robert. Nate Newman, Lucas Holmes, Tyler Aspinall, Tyler Shangle, Tim Cording, Lynn Farrell, Dalton Scott, and Braden Varga. Braden definitely is kind of in his own zip code there, as next in line is all the way back in the running order. Braden definitely has an opportunity here to gain some spots with the lap traffic holding everyone up in front of him. He's got the benefit of being, without anyone behind him and just all the time in the world to catch each of these drivers one by one. It's impressive how you see all the Audis running together here. They're doing a lot better than where they were just a couple weeks ago even, where Brian DeBlanc and the rest of the team all qualified dead last at the Coke 600. And here they are today. DeBlanc led many laps. The Cording brothers, both of them are in the top 15. And newcomer Braden Varga putting on a decent showing here. Al Bunch keeps going low, trying to work his way around some of the traffic, but just not paying off for him yet. DeBlanc looking like he might want to try to fight back for second here. Loses a little bit of momentum through the turns, but Kellen Relic also getting held up by the slower pace in front of him. I must say, this is a very peculiar road course race that I have seen in quite a while. I adjusted some things to try and get the cars to not wreck in the last segment of the track like they have always done here. And what I did was I modified the line editor in the track edit file, and I basically changed it from a 1.0 to a 0.50, and it seemed to do the job. I mean, we have not had a single car crash out. They would run into the grass here, drive through the grass, and hit the tire barrier, and bam, their day'd be over. In doing that, however, it has forced these cars to go gruelingly slower for whatever reason, which actually seems to be more exciting because the cars are a little bit cautious going through the turns, so it makes for some interesting, setups for attempted passes. But even then, their max speed is not enough to fully get the job done 9 times out of 10. So it really looks like they're setting up for the attack and then coming up short each time. So with all those peculiarities out the window, we still have a great race here with 5 cars all within basically about half a second of each other. At some points, about 1.5 at the closest, nearly half a second. Kellen Relic falls to 3rd here. Could fall another spot with What Army right behind him. Now we're starting to see the battle that we saw at the beginning of the race, just on the flip side here. Instead of Al Bunch fighting Brian DeBlank for the lead, it is Brian DeBlank fighting Al Bunch for the lead. Kellen Relic, it seems that his strategy paid off as it still net gained him some spots here. But those tires, they are falling off something fiercely. He turned a 134.7. He's about half a second shy from what Army just turned. And if you look ahead to him, he's about a full second off the pace with Brian DeBlank. And even 2 seconds off of Al Bunch, roughly. As I mentioned previously, our window for pit stops will be around lap 90 to 100, depending on how late or how early some drivers are going to make their final pit stop here. The later they wait, the more potential they have to do a gas and go to the finish. And who knows, maybe we could see someone jump 5 spots to take over the lead, like we saw with Kellen Relic. So if you're sitting right about here with Chaz Chadwick, Jacob Shangle, heck, even Atlee Weiss could really benefit from pit stops here. We just now hit our 2-hour mark in the race, so brief pause here as I save the replay at the 2-hour mark. And yeah, these cup races still very much got the endurance feel to them. I'm still trying to shrink them down little by little here and there. Try and make them a little bit more digestible for the average YouTube video. But ultimately, the things that are going to remain unchanged, we will always have the Southern 500 of our series. We will always have the Coke 600, Daytona 500. I guess as many would consider those to be the crown jewels I sort of named some of them the marquee events on our schedule. And so yeah, no, it's going to be, all those races will remain untouched. But my goal is to try and really shorten a lot of these races down, a lot in the likes of what NASCAR's been trying to do, where they might cut a 500-mile race down to a 400-mile race. The only difference is I'm probably going to end up cutting things from 400 down to just around 300 miles. So some of the races would be the length of kind of your standard Xfinity race nowadays. With the silly season in full swing like it is, I would not be surprised if schedules start to get thrown around a little bit for next year. And I've seen a few people shooting some ideas out there. Definitely, I'll try to consider as many ideas as I can, as long as, you know, scheduling can accommodate that. Me being on the Pacific Northwest, I like to have some of those P&W racetracks, like Portland here, for example. It just gives kind of a homey vibe for me to throw in some of my own home tracks and whatnot. One of them that would be fun for me, I found some of the local short tracks that I actually have been to, or I would like to go to that I haven't been to. Not a lot of them that I've been to, but it's still close enough in my backyard that I could go to some of them. And Montana has, or Idaho actually, there's an Idaho short track, and I'm going to add some of those short tracks to the, at least maybe the ARCA or Bridge to Cup series before making them a big Cup staple. Al Bunch really starting to stretch it out here now as he's passing through a lot of the lap traffic. Here we are on lap 78 of 116 with just 38 laps to go. And honestly, if someone wanted to pit right now, they could make it to the finish and might actually be able to benefit from pitting early. So far, none of our top contenders have taken a pit stop. The 5 was one of the drivers that took a super undercut pit stop, and it seems that he's pitted already. He's sitting 42nd, one lap down. But he's going to be able to stay out here and finish the race now without making any more pit stops. Everyone in front of him, they're going to have to come down pit road. So this 5 car, we'll have to keep our eyes on what progress that's going to mean for him. It's probably going to be as good as a top 20. But at least it had helped move him up into the top 20 where he had not been running all day. Still not seeing anyone make the super undercut here on lap 80. As Al Bunch roars around the front stretch here. Brian DeBlank settles into second. Ewan Wood Army third. Kellen Relic fourth. Chaz Chadwick, I'm thinking, might be able to make a move on this 87. Chadwick making a good drive into turn one here. We'll see if Chadwick can make a move here. Maybe not. Looks like Kellen's starting to stretch it out a little bit again. Al Bunch has grown his lead to a 3.5 second deficit. Not a whole lot has changed through the running order. Still got 15 cars within 20 seconds of the lead. Ooh, Jacob Shangle making a move there on Chadwick almost. Well, Al Bunch's lead not growing a whole lot, actually losing a little bit of ground. Went from 3.5-second lead over Brian DeBlanc to now 2.74 seconds. So DeBlanc still trying to close the gap here. He's got a lot of cars separating him to Al Bunch. Well, just like that, the gap now a 3.35 second deficit. So it just depends lap by lap here as to what that deficit is. Here we go, Al Bunch a little bit on the undercut here, which may very well be the winning move here today. Pits on lap 84. Obviously, he's going to need a little bit of luck still once he rejoins the track to not get caught up behind slower traffic. But here he is, making his last pit stop in the race. Tyler Aspinall. And the nice part is Al Bunch rejoins the track without any slower traffic holding him up. Clear track means a little bit easier path to victory here tonight. Now the key will be how everyone else fares on their pit stops. Tim Cording now coming off pit road as well. So for now, the lead shuffles back around to Brian DeBlanc on lap 85 here. And DeBlanc barely holding on to that lead. He's got What Army right there in his rear view mirror. Kellen Relic, Chaz Chadwick, and Jacob Shangle. See, now this is where things can get thrown out of the out of whack. Is if these guys stay out late, they go down pit road for a quick gas and go, and totally throw Al Bunch's plan down the drain. So Al Bunch pitted, and everyone else still waiting to make their pit stops. Al Bunch currently has clear track last we saw. Yeah, clear track, so nothing's going to hold him up here. It's just going to be as to who and everyone else how the rest of the field sorts out after their pit stops. Couple more takers, a little bit deeper in the field here. Tail end of the field making their pit stops, as well as the leaders. So here we go, Brian DeBlank, Ewan What Army, Jacob Shangle. Staying out though, it looks like Chaz Chadwick, Kellen Relic and Chaz Chadwick stay a little bit later here. Atlee. So here is the moment of truth. Once we see, there's Al Bunch coming across start-finish line. And here's Brian DeBlank now leaving pit road. Brian DeBlank will come back out, and there's going to be a sizable gap from him to Al Bunch. That undercut could be the victorious move here today. You can't count these two out. They're trying something a little wacky. Kellen Relic really trying something wacky. Uh-oh, the 6 slowing up. I wonder if they ran out of gas. Let's see what's wrong with Chris Hergeson here. Nothing coming up saying low on fuel. It's just gotta be something wrong with the 6 there. Makes it to pit road though, so perhaps going to be able to refill it. Kellen Relic stays out another lap here. Now, Al Bunch better be careful with lap traffic coming off pit road here not to get in a tangle. It's happened before. It's been somewhat of an Achilles heel for him. Lap traffic, one of his dire nemesises in the series. Regardless of how this race turns out, this is still a huge day for Brian DeBlank, coming out leading laps, putting in a solid campaign in that number 85 Audi. But don't count him out yet. He's going to have at least slight advantage when it comes to tire degradation here, that he might be able to catch the lead car of Al Bunch and put up a fight. Wow, Kellen Relic staying out yet another lap here. How many laps is he going to go on his strategy? Because he did the undercut last time. He was one of the first ones to pit back on lap 43. Holy cow, he's going to push all the way to the brink here. He's going to try for the long haul. He's currently at 46 laps on that tank of gas. Better be careful not to run it out of gas, though. But the true killer here is the lap times. And he should have, with the undercut in his first strategy call, he should have just undercut again this time, and he probably could have, you know, made it a top 5 finish on the day here. But this is looking more and more like it's got top 10, maybe even top 15 written on it. Running as slow a laps as he is right now. If he was going to try to take the long cut on the second pit stop, he should have just taken the long cut on the first pit stop and run it for a quick gas and go at the finish. But I guess I'm not the crew chief. I'm not the one making those high stakes calls. Maybe Kellen Relic kind of by the seat of his pants making these calls himself. Kind of a Keselowski move or something. So right now, if you look, he's going to have to make a quick pit stop to stay in front of Al Bunch. 28 seconds from him to Al Bunch. You're going to lose about that on a pit stop, even with a gas and go. So 37 as well, making kind of a strategy call here. Right there, Guido Piano staying out as long as he can. He is your 2022 USA Trucks champion. Hey, for the first time ever, we have all three of our truck champions in the field. We got Tim, Tom, and Guido. Our three truck champions between 2022 and 2023. Dang, Kellen's still staying out. He's on lap 91. If he makes it to lap 93, he's going to make it a full 50 laps on this fuel run. Yet again, a head scratcher. I don't know these fuel strategies, and I don't know where the AI come up with them. If I was in the shoes of the 87 team, I would have made him stay out till lap 50, stay out till lap 100. There's no way he can make it to lap 100 right now. If he can make it 50 laps, there's really no reason he couldn't have done that in the first stint either. And then you have a quick 16 lap stint to close it out where you could, do that gas and go. If you pit on lap 93, you're going to have to take tires. They could try for the gas and go, but I'm thinking they're going to have a flat tire by the end of the race if they just take a stab at that. So Al Bunch patiently waiting the verdict of the 87 team here so that he can re-inherit the lead as it should be. And there we go. Kellen Relic making his pit stop now. We're going to keep our eyes on this 87 to see if he takes just gas or if he takes some tires. You could take 2 tires and gas and still... Yeah, they're going to take tires, so that just about eliminates any advantage that this strategy had. 4 tires, and you're going to see right there Al Bunch driving away. Kellen's still going to come out 7th, 8th, 9th, right in about 9th or 10th place here. Al Bunch is making hay, making his way through all the lap traffic here. There we go, the 37 of Guido Piano now making his pit stop. And Al Bunch back to the lead here with just a little over 22, 23 laps to go. Three-and-a-half second lead over Brian DeBlanc. Still a lot of racing here. 24 laps is a long time. Still, I would not rule out this 85 car from finding his way through the field here. Yeah, this could be a big bullet in the chamber there as Al Bunch knocks off another 2 seconds to the lead. So DeBlanc needs to find his way through this lap traffic and needs to find his way through it pretty quickly here if he still wants to be in the mix. Al Bunch not showing any struggles here as he's blowing through. Al Bunch has grown his lead to nearly 10 seconds over Brian DeBlank. DeBlank now going to have to keep his eyes on the back behind him there to make sure the 64 doesn't get by. Short of something extravagant happening here, I don't know if anyone's going to catch up to Al Bunch. A full caution-free race here at Portland, and it's proven to have been an exciting strategy fest here today. So let's do one last through the field as we're closing up towards the end of this one. Obviously, we all know that Al Bunch leads with a lot of lap traffic separating him to Brian DeBlank. And then Jacob Shangle in third. Running in fourth is Ewan What Army. Holy cow, up to fifth, it is Tom Cording on some huge strategy calls that has net gained him about 5 spots here. Atlee Weiss has moved up slowly but surely into 6th. Kellen Relic, gotta say, his strategy calls lost him all the positions that he gained early in this one. He was all the way up leading at one point and has fallen back to 7th, right about where he started. Chaz Chadwick in 8th. Tyler Aspinall now up into the top 10, running 9th. And Nate Newman fighting with Lucas Holmes for the top 10 position here. Lucas Holmes in his series debut can't be upset with the top 10, top 12 finish. Fortunately, Hergeson had a top 20 going at one point, and he's going to finish, looks like 41st, one lap down. Tristan Reams in 12th. Tim Cording in 13th. Ant Meeperson in 14th. Tyler Shangle in 15th. Now, Braden Varga, he's 16th. He could still get a top 15 finish here today in his series debut, as we've got quite a few drivers making their series debut. Some of them making their 2024 season debut, not necessarily series debut. Tyler Landa, Lynn Farrell, Dalton Scott, Guido Piano, and Trevor Walker, the last of the drivers on the lead lap. Other than Taden Bergeron, who's running 22nd on the lead lap. And a few more, I guess. Jordan Walker, Andre Stefan, Daniel Pauls Jr., Nelson Chacon, John Roman, Jack Ross, Belafon, and there's our leader. With just 17 laps remaining. Lead has kind of plateaued at the moment. Brian DeBlank not losing too much more time to Al Bunch. Al Bunch just on a whole nother level here in the closing laps at Portland. It took him the entire race to get the job done, though. I mean, at one point it was Brian DeBlank with the faster car. Then you had Kellen Relic. And it took Al Bunch quite a while to get through some of the lap cars to get that lead. But since he's taken that lead, he has not looked back. The only way we would have a full course caution is if, potentially if, there was a fuel leak, liquids on track, or anything out of the ordinary. But I don't see... No, there was an oil leak. The 6, that was what was going wrong with Chris Hergeson. Had an oil leak, came to pit road, got it fixed. Luckily, it was off the racing line for the most part. Braden Varga looking to put the fight to Tyler Shangle here. He's duking it out with the winningest driver in our series. Tyler Shangle, no slouch. So very much all-star talent that Braden is bumping elbows with here. You gotta imagine a top 15 would feel so much better than just settling for 16th in your season series career opener. Tim Cording definitely flexing his muscles. He is the full-time driver of this 50 car going forward. However, his brother in the 90 putting on a great finish here. Could potentially see some more track time in that 90 if he puts on a good finish like this here today in the top 5. So we might see that 90 car get a few more starts out of Tom Cording to allow for a little bit more wiggle room to get Dave Steele, keep him from losing Rookie of the Year status in 2025. And don't forget, Kyler Sestre too was called upon to drive this 90 car, so there's really no threat that that any of those drivers are going to get over their rookie starts. You have to stay within under 20 starts because of it being a 40 race season. If you complete more than half of the scheduled races in a season, you are basically graduated out of the Rookie of the Year status. So that's the fine line. You want to stay at 19 races this year since you're not a full-time contender yet, so that you can be contending for that Rookie of the Year status in your first full-time season going forward. So as painstakingly obvious as it is, passing is at a high premium here. Now that they've sort of gotten around most lap traffic, you're not seeing a whole lot of passing going down here. And it would be cool to see Braden Varga get a top 15 in his series debut, but not looking to be the case that it'll likely happen here, as Tyler Shangle not putting a foot wrong yet. Might take a mechanical failure from someone to move some of these spots around. Ultimately, it'll be the difference between a top 15 or a top 20, depending on how the dime flips here. We're down to the final 10 laps racing here this evening, and it's really gotten long, drawn out in the closing laps here. But ultimately, strategy has prevailed. We've seen some drivers really flip the script and have figured out a way to move through the running order. Kind of the unchanged would be our top two, except they flip-flopped from the starting of the race, where it was Brian DeBlank leading early over Al Bunch, and now as the race starts dwindling down, it's Al Bunch dominantly holding the lead over Brian DeBlank. Jacob Shangle there in the 64 net gained a huge delta, gaining up toward 3rd place. You can look real quick and see where the starting order was. 7th, so only gained about 4 spots, but still on a road course like this where passing is at a premium, that is huge. Compare some of the other likenesses. Let's see, Tom Cording started 11th. He worked his way up to 5th, so a gain of 6 spots there for him. Braden Varga started 17th. He's currently running 16th, so +1 there. Nate Newman, I think, gained. So really, at about the most, you'll see about people gaining about 5 spots in the meat of the sandwich there, basically. Atlee Weiss went from 10th to 6th, so +4. Kellen Relic stayed about the same. Let's see where Tyler Aspinall from 14th up to 10th, so 4s and 5s basically. And the race is not over until it's over. Yeah, Al Bunch could be out front here leading dominantly like this, but all it takes is a flat tire, a fuel leak, or something just to go out of the ordinary to take him from winning to sitting on pit road. Trust me, Al. I'm holding my tongue as much as I can, trying not to jinx anything. I'm even, as many of you in the server like to say it, I'm trying not to play the hand of God here and, you know, throw a bogus debris caution for entertainment value, because that is the problem with modern NASCAR today, is they are so trigger happy to pull a bogus debris caution to stack them back up and get that hype value kind of a finish. But today, we're just going to let it roll. There's really no reason here at Portland to throw caution, even though I keep saying, oh, if we get, you know, a fuel leak or a track block and wreck, that we'll throw a caution. It's like, no, honestly, don't forecast that happening at all. Now, the only thing is if the game has to tow someone back to pit road, maybe. Or a car gets flipped over and rolls on its roof, maybe. But there's only 6 laps to go, so there's really not a whole lot that could transpire here. Even if it did, we would have to throw a green-white checkers in with the mix, possibly, knowing how long it takes for a caution to get cleared on a road course. Not bad. Matthew Fastnot, or Nate Newman, what am I talking about? I skimmed past Matthew Fastnot, who's a lap down. Nate Newman up to 9th. He's gonna keep this rookie campaign of his something fierce and strong for the other competitors to worry about. And then the 64 could get up to second here, as you see Brian DeBlank not too far ahead. Honestly, it's just a matter of time before Nate Newman gets that win. It's not a matter of if he's going to do it, it's a matter of when will he do it. That 20 car definitely has the power of his team owner. Got a little bit of a stack up there. It looks like Lucas Holmes now cracks up into the top 10, getting by Tyler Aspinall. We'll see if that affected anyone further back. Does not look like it, as Tim and Tyler and Varga still run in their same spots. With just 3 laps to go now, Al Bunch has a 13-second lead over Brian DeBlank. Well, make that 12.5 as DeBlank cuts about half a second off there. But it's going to take more than half a second a lap to catch up to the 81. The crazy part is you can see them in the same photo shoot there. But the deficit sizably a lot bigger than what the picture tells you. 12.5 seconds. Looks like he's going to cut some more out of that lead, I imagine. Down to 11.2. So DeBlanc is cooking at the wrong time here. He should have been cooking laps ago. And of course, there's still going to be all that traffic that he's going to have to work his way through. We got to start to wonder, is maybe Al Bunch just safetying up here? Or is there something not right with the car? When you got Brian DeBlanc turning laps 1 second faster than your leader, starting to close that gap ever so slightly. It's going to take a tremendous mistake, though, out of the 81. It'll be just 2 laps to go this time for Al Bunch to get the job done here. It's been 15 years in our Sylvania Cup Series, and we have not had a repeat champion in that many years. It's amazing. Since 2010, there's been a different winner for the overall championship every year. And the way things are playing out this year already, I mean, you've got Al Bunch, who this is his first full-time venture into the Cup Series, and he's dominating. I mean, he leads the points right now by about 50 points over Chaz Chadwick, and that's only because he's gotten 5 wins to his name so far. If he continues on the trajectory that he's going, he could be potentially tying up championships before the end of the season. 6 wins in 14 races, that is unheard of dominance. We've never had someone with this many wins this early in the season, ever. So I might be getting a bit ahead of myself by talking about potential championship winner. But I think it's very well merited to at least give Al Bunch the credit where credit is due. And he's doing something that no one has ever done in the Sylvania Cup Series. White flag waves here at Portland. Definitely a home soil track for Al Bunch here today. Pacific Northwest born, raised. Al Bunch would love to get the win at every home track on the schedule. Evergreen was one of those tracks that he's been to this year. And I got to double check that real quick to see if that was Al Bunch that won at Evergreen. I want to say it was Kellen that ran. No, it was. Al Bunch got the win at Evergreen, what would really be the home track for him. And now looking to potentially sweep the Pacific Northwest tracks in back-to-back visits this season, as he is rolling around here at Portland for the final lap. Coming down the backstretch. No, I would put money down on him right now, even if the Vegas odds weren't very favorable, that this kid's going to get something done here this year. And he's doing it with fierce ferocity. That 81 Jaguar, it's going to intimidate a lot of drivers when they see it in their rear view mirror. And checkered flag waving here at Portland. Al Bunch collects win number 6. Wins on home soils here in Portland. And collects 2 home track wins. Home territory, I guess. Not home tracks, but rather home territory wins for him, as he's gotten Evergreen and Portland in the same year. Goes to show you that our ladder system has paid off in dividends. He is your 2023 Sylvania Busch Light, known now as Bridge to Cup Series champion. And, well, that 2023 championship seems to have helped prepare him for success here in the Cup Series. So, as you're looking at this right now, just imagine what next year will be like when our 2024 Bridge to Cup champion gets graduated to Cup, and how exciting that's going to be. I mean, we still haven't seen the full force of all the champions involved. I mean, we still have our truck champions, our Bridge to Cup champion. Eventually, there's going to be ARCA champions in the fold too, and this, just keeps growing, getting more exciting. There's more layers to this onion every day, every week, every month, every year. The rest of the finishing results as they come across the start-finish line, Brian DeBlanc came home second. Solid day for him. Jacob Schengle in third. Ewan What Army looking to start working his way up the point standings with a top 5 finish here today. Tom Cording, defending champion Atlee Weiss, Kellen Relic, Chaz Chadwick, Nate Newman with a solid top 10. Lucas Holmes with a top 10 in his series debut. Tyler Aspinall, Tim Cording on the return. Tristan Reams, Ant Me Person, Tyler Schengle. And then outside in the top 20, you had Braden Varga, Tyler Landa, Lynn Farrell, Guido Piano, and Dalton Scott. No retirements at all here today, which is an impressive statistic to note. 27 cars finished the race, and lead laps were shared between a couple different drivers. Ultimately, I think Al Bunch led most bonus points here today. It's going to take a little bit more time to get the standings all calculated after the list of newcomers to the fold. But the one thing that's going to stay relevant is Al Bunch leading the points. Nothing's going to change there. And maybe Al Bunch trying to call the shots. He was hoping to get the win here at Portland, and so he did. Man, be careful when you say you want to win somewhere, because it might just happen. It's looking scary for the other drivers in the field if they're going to have anything to compete against Al Bunch with.
Frank, did you have any ignition problems?
So, thank you everyone for tuning in. This was a very highly anticipated Cup Series event, and it definitely paid off with the viewership. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been another marvelous week of Sigma racing in the books, and we'll look towards next week. We do have an off week with ARCA. It's going to give me a little bit of opportunity to maybe catch up on some painting duties and whatnot. But yet again, congratulations, Al Bunch, getting another win in his young Sylvania Cup Series, soon to be Sigma Cup Series, career. Hopefully everyone out there have a good night. Stay safe. Hopefully have a good weekend. We'll see you on the next week. And that is a wrap for tonight. So this is Jakester signing out. Have a good one.